Such a nice place here. It's quiet, peaceful. I really like it.
Guys, who told Trevor about this spot?
Not me.
Not me either.
What? Trevor said it's important.
It is important. You don't need that. There's no time. You should be scrimming.
But we're good.
Like 120 points good.
Freddie, I really want you guys to do well. But if you miss the group stage, you might miss season finals. The math is simple.
What does it all mean?
Okay, guys. Solo queue is fun to play,
But screams are where we win today.
Guys, I found a cool spot.
Welcome everyone to the final regular season week of the LEC Summer Split, live from Berlin, Germany. We have 3 days of best of ones left here in the LEC for this year, and for 2 teams, it might be their final games until 2024. Here we see Astralis and SK gearing up and getting ready as they arrive at the studio for their first game of the day, first game of the week. Have to see who can come out on top. I'm Dracos, joined by none other than Yamato Cannon and Ender. Welcome, guys. How you feeling?
Well, first of all, I have to address, was that Certus just holding his mouse and his peripherals in his hand, no bag whatsoever? Because that is unhinged behavior.
Ritual stuff.
It's primal, you know what I mean? He's reconnecting. The bag separates him. He needs to be closer.
Right, he needs to be one with the machine.
Exactly.
A lot of people talk
Deus
about man
ex
versus the
machina.
machine. He is man and
he's in
machine.
There. Yes, and we'll have to hope that it's enough for him in game 1. One team that's also going to need a little bit extra this week, none other than Vitality. That's the segue.
Hey,
0-3, week 2. More than a Vit Connect, because they are not Vit Connecting on stage. This team has been rough.
Yeah, the crazy thing about this is that at least in the previous splits, they had that individual talent going for them that kind of worked in the regular split because everyone was so uncoordinated. But now it's gotten to the point where they've lost even that confidence in their own individual play, and now they have nothing going on for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough for them. And I think the most obvious place that you can look where the discoordination is was the jungle. It seemed like Bo was just on a completely different page from the rest of the team, whether it was starting objectives with no prio in lanes and then just leashing them over to the opponents, odd gank timer, stuff like this. So it is now disaster mode for Vitality. They have to solve something, and that's a decision to bring in their academy jungler. 17-year-old Douglas will be joining the team, which...
yeah. I mean, this is a huge talking point. Bo out for Douglas, a young rookie. Obviously, a huge pedigree and history for Polish junglers. Maybe he can look to make a mark on that. But I think in this context, we're just going to have to talk more about him when we get to Vitality's matchup later in the day. For now, shifting our attention over to XL, the other big story. Is it a miracle run? We'll have to see. For now, it's a strong start with a 3-0 week, coming back after an 0-3 week 1. Definitely an improved roster overall.
I'm just glad to see this team coming into the draft with like a clear, cohesive plan, because I think for so much of the split, whether there's individual, whatever issues going on, in winter and spring, they were playing like all this like early mid-game stuff with like the Vi in the jungle, the Ahri in mid lane. It was too hard for them to convert early advantages. Now, Tank on the top lane, Azir in mid, you know, strong Zaya's in the bot lane, strong team fight everywhere. It's a very cohesive game plan that they executed on very well last week.
It's such a juxtaposition of what Vitality is, because this is a team of players that maybe aren't super exciting, but at least there's a clear buy-in to the identity. Tank top, melee support, mage on mid lane. They got the Azir 3 games in a row. They kind of cracked the recipe for what it means to play some European League of Legends, and we will see if teams are actually going to target those specific champions, like the Azir, Zaya, and Maokai, of course.
It's starting to feel like a simple recipe, and I hope more teams can follow suit. Scale.
Soup.
Azir. You know, we're making soup here. It's not super complicated. It comes in a can. ladies and gentlemen. One team, they don't even need canned soup. They're so good. It's at the top of the standings. G2 and Fnatic. They can cook whatever the hell they want because they are looking so damn fine. They've already locked groups, of course, for G2. They're smooth sailing on the way to season finals. No questions there.
You're mixing metaphors. Calm down. Is it cooking or is it sailing? Pick a lane. And that's another metaphor. Take it away.
Speaking of lanes, I just think, if we think about what's important in the current meta, the bot lane change for Fnatic, G2's bot lane popping off, I think, LEC is kind of back to normal. We have Fnatic and G2 at the top somehow, and it feels like we're kind of brewing for a very, very interesting finals.
Ignore Koi for a second, because they've been on the top for a while now, but now a little bit scuffed for them.
No matter how many recipes we sample, we come back to home cooking here in Europe.
That's incredible. Now, it's a very different story for those two teams, though, because G2 absolutely locked in season finals after winning in winter. That completely different story. Like, just finishing BO1s is not enough for them. They've got to make at minimum 4th place here to have a shot at season finals. And as you can see with the remaining scenarios in which they would qualify, 4th place is very, very slim. So,
so kind of top 3, and even then, you need to be in finals, essentially. You need to finish the overall season second.
The only way you maintain complete control of your destiny is 1st place.
100%. They should be super happy, though, that the bottom of the standings, with the Vitalities and the SKs and the Astralis kind of struggling.
I hate those guys.
Jesus.
Wow, okay, you guys made that personal.
I'll just finish my point.
I like what you're saying. Please continue, Yumaya.
They're struggling, and they have collected a lot of points in spring and winter, and them being down there is definitely helpful for Fnatic.
Yeah, because as much as every team, I'm sure, wants to believe, hey, we can win the split, and that'll be the reason to go through, you're also preying a little bit on everyone else's downfall.
Yes.
If you have more points than Fnatic, they're probably praying that you fail a little bit.
Right, so when they prey on the downfall of other teams, that's a problem.
Okay, all right. That's enough from us. Clearly, there's a lot at stake here in the final week of the regular season, and who better to run us all through it than Quickshot? Quickshot, take it away.
Much, Dracos, gentlemen. Welcome to the Telstra. Just a quick refresher and reminder of the LEC format here in 2023. We have 3 splits, winter, spring, and summer, and placements and final place positions within those splits will then qualify you for the season finals. The season finals is comprised of 6 teams, potentially 3 winners of the splits. If G2 or MAD win summer, then the 4 remaining teams will be drafted based on their championship points. Now, once you get to season finals and you're on the road to Montpellier in front of those thousands of fans, important to note the top 3 teams from our season final event will advance to Worlds, while the 4th seed will play off against the 4th LCS squad for their final seed in the World Championship. Now, I'm going to ask production to please bring up the peripheral interface for standings and scenarios, because I want to break down just a few of the opportunities here for you. Now, when we look at this table, some of you may remember this from winter, but more specifically from spring. What you're looking at is the 15 matches for the rest of our weekend. I want to look at the lock-in percentages. That's to make top 8, to advance to groups. It's one of the first stages you have to do, and that's the top 8 here. What you can already see is G2 Esports and Fnatic, they're locked in. For Mad Lions and Team Heretics, 1 more win, you get to a magic number of 5, you are locked into groups. And wouldn't you know it, Mad Lions and Heretics play off against one another today. One of them will be advancing to group stage. What that means for a team like XL, that the boys were so excitedly talking about, if they're able to win 2 of their 3 games this weekend, XL make groups. Now, it's going to be interesting to see. I do want to take a look at one specific squad, though. If we highlight Vitality, a team that has just made that roster substitution, and if you bear with me, let's just presume Vitality can somehow go 3-0. They do not lock groups with 4 wins. It's not that magic number 5. What they do get is at least a tiebreaker scenario, depending on what the other results are. What I will say is this. As you can see, they're racing with, let's say, Team BDS. If Team BDS lose today, if Vitality somehow go 3-0, they will be able to guarantee themselves that group stage slot. Now, this is a lot of information to take in. We will keep referring to this tool as more results come in. Before I do that, though, could I ask production to move on to the next slide for me? Because I just want to highlight some of the other squads. If you are a fan of XL, Heretics, SK Astralis, some of these squads, and you want to see what are their chances to make it to the season finals event, you can see the championship points, you can see how many scenarios in total they qualify. Get ready to pause and take your screenshots, because this is what I want to show you. For XL, a minimum of 3rd, or you don't even have a chance to make it to season finals. Let's take a look at Heretics. Minimum of 4th, but you don't even have a chance to get there. We just took a look at Fnatic. Here's SK because of the championship points earlier, significantly more chances, and one last opportunity just to tantalize your taste buds. There it is with Astralis. So that's it. I've been the peripheral interface for scores and standings master, and for a game that we might click from there. We're going to move on with the show, and we'd like to move on to a game called FLICKR. You may know it by a different name. I got a script for Ender, and you wanted to act out. There's a few. Wait, hang on. We're going to Dracos for this. We're going to that segment later.
That's my copy.
Back
It's
to you.
cool. It's a lot of complicated nomenclature.
If it's on the prompter, I read it.
I understand.
Anyways,
It's a great
I
segue,
understand.
though, because whatever ends up on the prompter after we do this, we will have to say exactly
so. Again, this is a game we're going to call Blind Pick. You may know it by a different name, but this is the name we've given it. I have a script for Ender and Yamato to act out, but there's a couple of words missing from the piece that I need them to help me fill in.
Did we do this?
Yes,
I think so. It's in the
you did. In the contract. 15 blanks, so we got to fill it out quickly. I'll just go through here as we go. All right?
Okay.
Words, adjective.
I don't know what an adjective
Fruity.
is. Fruity.
Fruity.
Yep.
Nickname.
Baby Mama Juju.
Baby Mama Juju. Got it.
Yep.
Accomplishment.
Winning worlds.
Winning worlds.
Nice. What else do we need?
Adverb.
What's an adverb?
Quickly.
Quickly.
It's an L, ends in an L-Y. Anyways.
Oh.
Another adjective.
Sparkly.
No, I don't think that's
No, sparkly.
that's not an adverb.
Adjective.
Adjective.
Sparkly.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
taking
sparkly works. Sparkly. Yeah.
a
Okay.
misfortune. Something unfortunate that could happen. A misfortune.
Getting hit by a car.
Getting hit by a car.
Happened to me.
Okay.
A mid laner.
Right. Caps.
Caps.
Caps. Got legendary item in the game League of Legends.
Ohm Wrecker.
Ohm
Wrecker.
Okay.
Champion.
Viego.
Viego.
A compliment.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
An
you're-
activity.
Uh,
We're going quick.
Dancing.
dancing. Yeah. Okay.
Dancing. Something that they're known for, like a title that you would give to someone.
Mister.
We're not taking Mister. You can't.
Unkillable
What are they known
Demon
for? Like
King.
Unkillable Demon
Yeah,
King.
Okay.
Words of affirmation.
You
Something
did
like,
a good job.
I love you.
We're gonna take. You
Wait,
did a
what-
good job. We're taking. You did a
Okay.
good job. Last one. Activity.
Curling. Yeah.
Actual last one. A curse word or general exclamation. Don't make the curse word too offensive.
Blimey.
Blimey. We'll take it.
Okay.
All right, boys. While you walk over to the green screen to set up
Okay.
our perfect scene, allow me to set the scene.
Took a while.
It's the final week of the LEC, and in the Vitality team house, the air smells of tension. With a record of 1-5, Vitality are on the ropes. As the pressure begins to build, Perks begins to doubt himself. His teammates, they leave the room, but before Perks stands up and heads out, he turns to his coach, Hjarnan, for guidance. Ender, you're going to be playing Perks. Yamato, you are playing Hjarnan. The script, you guys can take it from here.
That's you.
My script isn't. Hjarnan, I don't think I can do it. This was supposed to be so easy. We had the most fruity roster EA had ever seen.
Take a take a breath, baby mama Juju. You've been here before, and yet each and every time you manage to make it. Never forget, you're the man who winning worlds. It moved. Go to the next line.
Ugh, that's sparkly history. I wish I could be that guy now, but no matter what I do as an individual, we always manage to fuck it up and get hit by a car.
Blimey! Don't you remember your lane against Caps? You showed the world the power of Ohm Wrecker Viego. You defined the entire meta. You carried the team single-handedly across the finish line.
Yeah, but Hjarnan, I did.
Stop it! Blimey! Don't lose sight of who you are. You are Luca. You are Perks. You are destroyer of dreams and gorgeous. Whatever voice you hear in your head, whatever it's saying, if it can't acknowledge that, then you have to go dancing. Listen to me instead. This is your shot to get back on top. This is your opportunity to remind the world of who you are. Perks is the unkillable Demon King.
Yes! Blimey! You're right. If I'm going out fighting. Blimey expectations, blimey the scoreboard, and blimey the doubters. Tomorrow might not be promised for Vitality, but today, you did a good job.
And that, my friend, is all I could ever ask. Win or lose, we go curling. Yes!
I would definitely pay 15 euros to see that performance again. You know what else you could do with 15 euros? Build an LEC roster. Well, not really, but it's a fun game nonetheless. What's the other players did?
We're going to do something called roster budgets. I have a card here with players and they have prices on them.
Oh, okay, and I need to build a team.
And this price is based on how they've done this year.
All right.
So for example, G2 players, BDS players expensive, Fnatic players or Heretics players cheap.
Okay.
And I need you to build a roster for 15 euros. You can only choose one player per team.
Okay.
And I want to know what players you're picking for your roster and why.
I can't buy Mickey. I'm too expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have paid $5 for Mickey.
I don't know if I should say some of my thoughts loud. Probably not.
You're putting me in a tough spot. Whoever I choose, you're putting me in a tough spot. What can I do?
Jankos is €1.
Yep.
Jankos is €1, guys. Holy shit, we're on sale today.
Jankos on €1. That seems like a pretty sweet deal in my mind.
It's probably the biggest value for money option.
Oscarinen, Shell, Lassen, Offset, this guy.
Limit.
Limit. Very important lane is top, mid, AD, but top is very cheap Oscarinen, Offset and Shell and Lassen, and only €1, so limit. This lineup is very, very strong.
I'm taking Shigenda, Jankos, Abe, Hans, and Hiliobaba. But you kind of ruined it by putting Jankos for €1. It's literally, how many people chose Jankos for €1?
I'd say most.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But I also had someone who just started the roster with Elyoya.
I'm getting Elyoya. Then for AD I get Exakik. For support I get Trimby, and for mid I get Avedaga.
Wait, but Oscar and Trimby are same team?
No, not here. It says Koi here.
Okay. I'll let you have it.
Okay, maybe I figured it out. Did I figure it out? Wait, Patrick, Jankos, Humanoid, that's 5. Adam, Healy. Yeah, that's my roster.
You give me €1 back?
Yeah, the discount code.
I love it from Crowny, giving the tip back to production for the 14 euro roster. Welcome. You guys, you're going through the gambit today. You just acted out an Oscar-winning scene, it's safe to say. Now I'd love each of you to take turns building your perfect 15 euro roster. Ender, let's start with you.
Okay.
Where are you feeling? Where's your brand? You've got your euros. You've got your LEC bucks.
Are these all of my? Okay. I'm a wealthy guy. But you know what? We got to start out cheap. No, hands on my money.
That's his allowance.
Here, looking at this list, I do feel like it was a bit imbalanced. Kind of
reminder
like
that it was
jungler.
winter and spring performance, so this is not indicative of this season. But
my jungler equally imbalanced. We have to start with Jankos. €1. That is an absolute steal. Take it. Let's leave it there.
They kind of spoiled your top laner. Are you going for Oscar? You could have Broken Blade, you could have Adam, you want Oscar?
I'm also going Oscar. Now, Oscar's gonna make sense in a little bit, but basically I wanna go all in on bot lane. That's where I see my big, heavy hitters that I'm gonna be purchasing. I think Oscar is a solid option up on the top side of the map and recently been performing very well. I'm also gonna take a cheap mid laner in Humanoid, because this guy also very underpriced. This guy absolutely fantastic, having an amazing split. We gotta go with him. And then in the bot side of the map, I'm unloading. I forgot to do money.
Yeah, you got throw the dollars at me.
Yeah, I'll just keep throwing them at you.
Makes me feel
in the
alive.
bot lane, I'm bringing back a beloved duo. We got Upset and actually no,
you did Hans.
See,
you swapped.
I thought they lied to. Okay, never mind.
Get in the game, Ender.
Get in the game, Ender.
Okay. Anyways, I'm going Hans and Hylissang. But
which is
I
good.
was conflicted between bringing back Upset and Hilly for the confirmed very powerful duo of last year. But this is mine.
Give me your thesis statement, other than making it rain on me here. Give me your roster thesis statement, like 1 sentence, 2 sentences. What are you doing?
Win or lose, we go curling.
Ooh, that's a strong thesis statement. Yamato, your turn here.
All right, I'm going to keep it the same. My Oscarini, just send me Oscarini, €2. That's pretty cheap. My man's popping off. That's cheap. €2 out. Jankos for €1. We'll take that any day of the week. Humanoid, of course. I have only spent $5 and I have 3 players already. Super easy. But I'm going to spice it up here. I'm going to take FLICKR for €1.
Okay.
And then Trimby for 4.
You got so much left over.
You have so much left over.
Basically, all of this money gone. But we need to bolster this team because they need a man that leads them, a man that dresses well, has a gorgeous voice, that has pedigree and history, both as a player, as an LEC talent. We need to bring in Yamaro Cannon, and he's worth €5, baby. Put them in the pocket.
Is that legal? Production, can we get confirmation?
Is that like a resume?
Nobody told me the rules of the game.
This is not a job interview.
Team or with a coach to the moon, baby.
It's not the first time an Oregoner has made themselves head coach of a team. Many iconic European and North American organizations.
Not gonna spill the tea, but
happens all the time.
You know.
If you know, you know. Well, let's talk to someone definitely worth a few dollars, maybe even $5 on this board. Finn, ahead of their upcoming game versus SK. Trouble, take it away.
Thank you very much, Strikers. I'm sitting here with Finn. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
How has the last week been preparing for what could be for your team, possibly the last week of the summer split?
Well, I wouldn't want to say that. I think we have a good chance coming into this week. I feel really confident against all these 3 teams. All having like players I know very well, like Mark, Patrick, Adrian, Larson. Like, I feel like I know kind of how they want to play. So preparation has been smooth and solid, and I think we have good plans for every game. And for us, just like making it to the group stages right now is all our focus, because I feel like on this meta we're not really our strongest self. But looking how the meta is evolving now in the current patches, I think we'll have a really good chance if we make it to top 8. So that is currently all our focus, and we just got to win the games this weekend. It's going to be simple.
As simple as that. What did you guys work on to get... Because I'm seeing you very confident right here. You're like, yeah, we're prepared for every single opponent. They're not that great anyway. So what is it that you guys worked on to get you that confident?
I mean, I wouldn't say they're not great. I think every team is good in their own way. But I think a lot of teams in Europe has clear flaws and clear strengths. And a lot of times these are in draft, and I think we started them very thoroughly, and I think we have good plans for all of them. But in the end, like when you step on that stage and you sit down in that chair and the draft begins and the timer ticks down, you're like, oh, sometimes it doesn't always go as planned. So I think today and this weekend, adaptability will be important for every team, because this is the most stressful week for most of these teams. It's do or die for almost everyone. So how you handle that pressure of maybe not seeing next week, it's going to be tough, but it's something that we've dealt with before and we can do again.
Absolutely. And you talked a little bit about the stress and the clock ticking down. How important would you rate the drafts right now compared to in-game gameplay?
It's always a tough line, because you can always put it on drafts, you can always put it on gameplay. I would say it's maybe 50-50. Some people will disagree with that. Some people will say it's more or less. But, you know, you can never really know, because it's dependent on the team. It's dependent on the patch. It's dependent on the meta. Like, everything has variables that change every single patch. So you can't really set a clear rule. But it's obviously a very important draft. There's no doubt about it. And making sure we have a draft we feel comfortable in and knowing that we can execute, I think it's paramount for success this weekend.
Absolutely. And another team that's looking for success this weekend is SK Gaming. You guys are playing the first game versus them today. They are as well trading on a very thin line on 2 and 4. Your other opponent is Koi and Excel, 2 and 4 and 3 and 5, respectively. Very close to you guys. But how do you see this weekend specifically against SK Gaming today?
SK, I think we match up well against. I think SK kind of struggle when the game is fast. I think they kind of prefer a slow game with stacking drakes and taking fights on their terms, in their vision, when they lie back and just watch the game unfold. But I don't think we will give it that to them. I think we're going to strike them where it matters, and I think we're going to take it to their face and see how they adapt to that.
So sitting up, straight back, and we're going to have fire early on?
The straightest of backs, yeah.
All right, Finn, thank you very much. Good luck on your game versus SK Gaming. Dracos, over back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trouble and Finn. I love how upfront Finn is in that interview. They're just going to lie back. No, we're coming at them. We're hitting them where it hurts. He said
where
a lot
does it hurt the most?
Face, apparently. It's going to take another face. Well, questionable word choice, but I think ultimately I liked the sentiment of being aggressive, of contesting these teams where they're going to go. And I think it is important, because one thing that they also touched on was look, it gets weird in the draft. When you sit down in that chair, when the timer ticks down, sometimes your plans go to shit. And it seems like that has been the case.
They go to
for Astralis.
Blimey, really.
They go to Blimey.
They go to Blimey. But I think it's natural when you have two wizards like Finn and, they've been, their draft structure right now is like 1, 2, 3. They're always banning Yuumi, Milio, LB. Like this patch is not bless up for them. They have locked bans coming in with lock bans throughout the entire weekend. Maybe they can leave LeBlanc open against teams where maybe they're not going to play it. But I understand why it gets weird, because always they pick AD, jungle support 1, 2, 3, and then always Finn and leader need to get it very spicy in 4-5, where they get the Gragas Yasuo, maybe the Rumble X, Rumble Yasuo. And this is their strength, but at the same time, I think this strength would be stronger coming into the next patch. So I'm kind of hoping they make it through.
Yeah, if there was a patch where there weren't quite so many like mid OPs, right,
Yes.
where it opens up the pool a lot. I also think that with a lot of teams like picking Xayah, that just works a lot. Like even if leader was to play a lot of his dive heavy champs, like he also things like this, Xayah gonna have a very good time trying to sort of dodge away from those things. So it does feel like they're a little bit hamstrung in that regard.
Yeah, we look at the most banned champs for Astralis here, and the Milio, the Poppy, and the Yuumi, like ruiners of leader's life. Everything he wants to play is ruined by those 3 champions, and I think it is indicative and also of how the team wants to play. Jonghoon, do you want to see his Yuumi or Milio? Probably not. Can he play it? Sure, but do you ever, like, from a guy who plays Pyke, a guy who plays Blitzcrank even on this patch, it's truly a tough spot for Astralis to be in.
I think whenever Astralis has looked their best is through that 3v3 mid. I remember that game they beat G2. It was all about 3v3 mid with the Irelia, the Sejuani, and the Leona. They were fighting 3v3 mid, and they were very sharp at contesting that. But when the game is less about that, when it's range supports, you don't get to connect the same way around mid lane, and they need to stay away from that.
I will say, though, that going up against SK, trying to like read between the lines of the Finn interview, if you are going to try to attack somewhere, I would look around the mid lane. And so, like, if there's a position where leader can get a favorable matchup, get one of those picks for him, 1-on-3 on one of his like early game ganking junglers that he likes to go into. Like even a Jarvan is a pick that he likes to slot in for. I think that is an area that they may be looking to move in the early stages.
Yeah, and I think while they may look to play around mid lane, because it certainly seems to be the way that both teams would be interested in playing the game, I think the top lane is where I want to look, just because they're the 2 most reliable factors on both these teams across this season. Finn versus Irrelevant. Finn has been, individually at least, kind of a monster.
I've watched Finn in Champions League for so long, and I always thought that he had a lot more to offer when it came to the stage matches. And I think this time around, I feel like on the Gragas had a fantastic performance in terms of how he, sets up his team for success by kind of putting the final piece into that draft that is so important. Kind of reminds me of like a baby Sanji from OMG, especially with the K'Sante play. He double kills here. Of course, BB kind of runs it down, but it takes 2 to tango. He does a beautiful play here, gets ahead, ends up losing the game. But I feel like consistently, I think that I can easily say that Finn has had a top 3 top lane performance out of the 6 games we've seen so far from all of the teams.
And I also think that it's not like he's suddenly come out of nowhere, because even like last split, like he was a monster in the team fights, calling for the squad, his Gnar making a huge performance there, the Gragas, the Rumble. At the same time, Irrelevant is a guy who all year long has been incredibly dominant in the 1v1, was near leading the league in solo kills, even with guys like Adam locking in the Olaf and stuff. So when he busts out the Jax all of a sudden and starts just tearing up a side lane, that was another amazing thing to see out of him.
I think the key thing here is just, we saw in the previous splits that Jax was something that was banned 1, 2, 3, often against SK, and that was not something that we got to see too much, and now we got to play it. I think the main thing is, can SK find this identity? Because Irrelevant was so good at playing in isolation, and then his bot lane delivered, because that was like the team that we saw, like when they were beating G2, was always through bot lane, dive with the leads, Sivir Yuumi, this is what they're good at, but that same fire isn't there, and they're kind of playing exactly the same way Finn said. They're kind of just waiting and waiting and waiting and hoping that the game victory comes from some big mistake from the opposition, and Astralis play fast and loose.
Yeah, they definitely get active. I think a lot of that does come down to like a lot of things 1-on-3 likes to play in the jungle, but just sort of like looking at the top lane and zooming that out to like how the teams are going to come in and draft. I have a lot of questions, because these 2 players do a lot in isolation on their own as well. So it's not like you come into draft and immediately assume like, oh, it's Jax versus K'Sante, we're trying to play for like a top lane advantage on the Jax or something. They could just as easily be locking in the Gnars, the Rumbles, the Gragases, playing team fight, and while you are confident in both of them to hold their own, it puts a lot more pressure on bot lane and mid lane too.
Certainly. I think jungle is the other thing. You talked about how active 1-1-3 is, and even if it's kind of come up tails sometimes on that coin flip for some of these more aggressive plays, Marcoon's a guy that I'm still waiting to see get pretty active on the map. They tried the Wukong a lot this split. I'm hoping we see more aggressive early gankers. And I mean, both these guys, I think, are at their best when they're getting aggressive on the map. And we'll just have to see if that's how everything's going to play out.
No, for sure. I think we were going to probably see a Sejuani ban to just deny the combos, and then probably we'll see, of course, 113 on his Viego, and then let's see if SK can actually find a pick they can contest in the early, because I agree. If you put Astralis on the back foot, they'll just keep fighting out of any situation they're in. If they're ahead, they will be winning those fights.
I'm anticipating a little bit of spice in mid lane for Astralis and Leader. And then I would like to see a world where they put a little bit more faith in Relevant, like bring out the Jax again, something like that to take the pain train to Finn.
Look, it's long as they both got spice, I'm feeling pretty good, because the one really outstanding game we've seen from Astralis was versus BDS, and it was incredibly spicy. Now, it did require Nuke walking into a Yasuo at level 1, eating his entire health bar. That Yasuo was stacked lethal tempo, then almost 100% killing over Renekton.
Exactly the same.
And Renekton doing the same thing.
So is I'm not SK do that.
So that's true. One avenue is to replicate those circumstances exactly, which I can't imagine will ever happen again in League of Legends. The other option is to just generally get weird in the draft, because I love the Blitzcranks. I want to see more from these players, and I feel like for SK, we know when Astralis look confident. It's much more about getting them a draft in this meta that they can look confident on. And I hope SK can find something that's going to give them a similar level of confidence. Because again, I'm missing the Marcoon who flipped an insane jungle path on that Elise to beat G2.
Tower dove bot lane.
Tower dove bot lane against all advisable jungle pathing. You know, that's what I'm hoping that we see here today. And we'll have to find out if that's the case as we send it over to the casters for game 1.